Introduction. Turning 60 is often portrayed as a milestone of limitations. Retirement. Slowing down. Letting go. But what if it's actually the opposite? What if turning 60 marks the beginning of a richer, more intentional chapter of life? One where wisdom, perspective, and personal growth take center stage. For many, the years after 60 are a time of surprising clarity. The noise quiets. The need to please others fades. And in that calm, you begin to truly understand what matters, what brings joy, what deserves your time, and what you can finally release. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you really are, beneath the layers of expectation, obligation, and past roles. At 60 and beyond, you gain the freedom to choose more consciously, to live more deeply, and to love more fully. Life no longer feels like a race. It becomes a rhythm, one that you set yourself. This video isn't about how to resist aging. It's about how to embrace it with purpose, presence, and passion. It's about the subtle but powerful shifts that come when you've lived long enough to know what truly matters. You don't need to be louder, faster, or busier. You just need to be real, aware, and open. In the chapters that follow, we'll explore 5 life-changing lessons that often emerge only after 60. These aren't lessons from books or theories. They're born from living, from falling down and getting back up, from saying goodbye and learning to say hello again, from learning that the most important things in life often aren't things at all. Whether you just crossed into your 60s or are well along the path, this message is for you. You've earned this wisdom. Now it's time to live it out loud. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Power of Letting Go. Releasing what no longer serves you. One of the most profound lessons that often comes after 60 is the liberating power of letting go. By this stage in life, most of us have accumulated not just possessions, but expectations, responsibilities, regrets, and unresolved emotions. We've carried burdens that were never truly ours, held on to relationships that drained us, and kept silent when we should have spoken. But something shifts after 60. There's a quiet knowing that grows, a sense that life is too short for unnecessary weight. Letting go becomes less about giving up and more about creating space. Space for peace. Space for joy. Space for the person you've always wanted to be. This process doesn't happen overnight. It might begin with the physical, decluttering your home, simplifying your wardrobe, or giving away things you no longer need. But then it moves deeper. You begin to release toxic thoughts. You forgive, not because others deserve it, but because you do. You stop chasing approval. You no longer force yourself to fit into roles that never felt right. Letting go also means accepting what you cannot change. At 60, there's a clarity that comes with time. You see how much energy you once spent resisting reality. Now, you begin to make peace with life as it is, not as you wish it had been. And in doing so, you reclaim your power. This is not weakness, it's wisdom. Knowing when to hold on and when to release is one of the most courageous acts of all. After 60, many discover that saying no is just as sacred as saying yes. Boundaries become a form of self-respect, not selfishness. Perhaps the greatest freedom is the realization that your worth is not tied to your productivity, your appearance, or your past. You are enough simply because you are here. And every time you let go of something that no longer serves you, you return a little more to yourself. Chapter 2. Rediscovering joy in simplicity. The beauty of slowing down. In the hustle of earlier decades, life often felt like a race. Careers, raising families, managing homes, social obligations. Every day filled to the brim. We wore our busyness like a badge of honor. Slowing down seemed like falling behind. But after 60, a beautiful truth begins to emerge. Slowing down isn't falling behind. It's finally catching up to yourself. It's the realization that joy doesn't live in the extraordinary, but in the everyday, in the small rituals, in the quiet moments, in being not just doing. Rediscovering simplicity is one of life's hidden gifts after 60. Morning coffee taken slowly, not gulped on the go. Walks without a destination. Reading for pleasure, not productivity. The joy of silence. Once uncomfortable, now comforting. Nature becomes more vivid. Time feels more spacious. The rush fades, and life becomes richer. This isn't about doing less, but about doing things with more presence. You begin to choose activities not for how much they accomplish, but for how they make you feel. You might garden, not for the perfect result, but for the peace it brings. You listen more deeply, because you're no longer waiting for your turn to speak. You find meaning in connection, not consumption. Slowing down also allows space for gratitude to grow. You start to notice what you used to overlook: the kindness of a stranger, the warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of your own breath. Life becomes less about chasing the next thing and more about cherishing this thing, right here, right now. After 60, many begin to prioritize their energy. You become selective, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You protect your time like the precious gift it is. And in that simplicity, you find yourself again. You realize that what the world told you was ordinary is, in fact, extraordinary. Joy after 60 is quiet, but powerful. It doesn't need fanfare or recognition. It lives in the everyday. And once you slow down enough to notice it, you wonder how you ever lived without it. Chapter 3. Embracing vulnerability, the strength in being real. One of the greatest misconceptions about aging is that it makes you fragile. But many people find the opposite to be true. After 60, vulnerability doesn't feel like a weakness. It becomes a strength. It's the courage to be real, to stop pretending, to show up as you are, not as who you think you're supposed to be. In youth, we often hide behind masks: professionalism, perfectionism, people-pleasing. We fear judgment, rejection, and not being enough. But after decades of experience, heartbreak, growth, and triumph, you learn that pretending is exhausting, and more importantly, unnecessary. After 60, you become more comfortable in your skin. Not just your physical skin, but your emotional and spiritual skin. You start to tell the truth about your life. You admit when you're tired, when you're scared, when you don't know the answer. And instead of pushing people away, this honesty draws them closer. Vulnerability invites connection. When you stop performing, others feel safe to do the same. Real conversations emerge. Real relationships deepen. You begin to understand that being open is not about oversharing. It's about standing in your truth with gentleness and courage. This is also the stage in life where you often come to terms with grief and loss. Friends, partners, dreams, some things don't last. Vulnerability helps you face those realities without shutting down. It gives you the space to mourn and also to heal. You cry more easily, but also laugh more freely. Your emotional spectrum expands, not contracts. And perhaps most importantly, you stop apologizing for who you are. You honor your story. You stop needing to fix everything. You realize that your presence is enough, even when you don't have all the answers. In embracing vulnerability, you gain something priceless: authenticity. You become someone others trust, not because you're flawless, but because you're real. And in a world full of noise and illusion, being real is a radical, beautiful act of strength. Chapter 4. Nurturing relationships that truly matter. After 60, relationships take on a new meaning. You no longer seek quantity, you seek quality. Superficial connections begin to fade, and you find yourself drawn to the people who bring peace, warmth, and meaning into your life. This is the age where you learn that time is your most valuable currency, and you become intentional about who you spend it with. Toxic dynamics, one-sided friendships, and energy-draining relationships lose their grip. You no longer have the patience to maintain connections that don't feed your soul. Instead, you begin to nurture the relationships that feel like home. Whether it's a lifelong friend, a partner, a sibling, or even a new acquaintance, you value depth, not drama. Conversations become richer. Moments shared become more sacred. You stop needing to impress and start craving connection. Family dynamics may shift too. You may be a grandparent, or you may have aging parents of your own. These roles come with new responsibilities, but also new joys. The meaning of legacy begins to crystallize, not just in what you leave behind, but in how you show up right now. At this stage, many also find the courage to repair broken ties or to forgive. You realize that holding grudges steals joy from the limited time you have left. Healing becomes more important than being right. And sometimes, peace comes not from reconciliation, but from letting go. You also learn the value of solitude. After 60, being alone no longer feels lonely. It feels restorative. You become your own companion, finding comfort in your own presence. And from that groundedness, your relationships become more intentional, not based on need, but on mutual respect and love. Ultimately, the lesson is clear: people matter. Not just any people, the right people. The ones who make you feel seen, heard, and valued. You learn to cherish them, to show up for them, and to let them show up for you. Chapter 5, Reclaiming Your Purpose. It's never too late. One of the most empowering revelations after 60 is this: your life still has purpose. You're not done growing. You're not done giving. You're not done becoming. In a society that often sidelines older adults, it's easy to feel invisible. But those who thrive after 60 know a secret. This stage of life is ripe with opportunity. It's a time to redefine what purpose means on your own terms. Purpose doesn't always come in grand gestures. It can be found in small, consistent acts of care and creativity. Mentoring someone younger, sharing your story, volunteering your time, creating art, learning something new, starting a garden, writing that book. Purpose is personal. It's what makes you feel alive and aligned. Many people after 60 pursue dreams they'd shell for decades. They go back to school, launch a business, travel solo, discover hidden talents. This is not about proving something. It's about finally honoring what's always been inside you. And for some, purpose is simply about being present, showing up for those you love, living with gratitude, offering kindness, spreading joy. You realize that your presence alone can be healing. This chapter of life is not a footnote. It's a full, vibrant volume. And the beauty of purpose at this age is that it's not driven by ego or ambition. It's driven by truth, by values, by a deeper sense of why. No matter your past, your circumstances, or your age, your life still has meaning. You still have something to give. You still have something to learn. You still have a light to shine. Reclaiming your purpose isn't about starting over. It's about starting now. Conclusion: living the wisdom, becoming the person you were always meant to be. As we reflect on the lessons learned after 60, one truth becomes unmistakably clear. Aging is not a decline. It is a deepening, a refinement, a return to essence. Each experience, each loss, each joy has carved you into someone more authentic, more courageous, more whole. You've earned every line on your face, every scar on your heart. They are not marks of failure, but of living, of showing up, of choosing to keep going when it would have been easier to stop. There's a quiet heroism in simply continuing to grow. And now, in this season, you are more equipped than ever to live with intention, with grace, and with joy. This is your time, not to fade, but to shine differently. Not to chase, but to attract. Not to prove, but to embody. After 60, the noise quiets and the signal becomes clear. Be who you are, fully. Speak truth with kindness. Rest without guilt. Love without fear. You're not here to please everyone. You are here to live your truth. The lessons we've explored, letting go, slowing down, being vulnerable, nurturing real connections, reclaiming your purpose, aren't just concepts. They are guideposts for a life lived with wisdom and depth. They remind us that age is not a limitation, but a liberation, a shedding of what no longer fits, and an embracing of what truly matters. So, if you find yourself questioning your value, your direction, or your worth, pause. Breathe. Look back not with regret, but with reverence. Every chapter led you here. And from here, you still have so much life left to live. Be curious. Be brave. Be generous with your time, your love, and your light. You're not too old. It is not too late. In fact, the most meaningful moments might still be ahead. Live your days as if they are sacred, because they are. You're a living library of lessons, stories, and strength, and the world still needs your voice. Here's to the courage of aging, to the power of perspective, and to the joy of becoming again and again. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Share in the comments what stood out to you in this video. We'd love to hear it. Your feedback means a lot. Subscribe to Thrive Beyond 60, turn on the bell, and join us for more videos. See you very soon.